the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, high and lofty, and the hem of his robe filled the temple. Seraphs were in attendance above him. Each had 6 wings. With 2 they covered their faces, and with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew. And one called to another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. The pivots on the thresholds shook at the voices of those who called, and the house filled with smoke. And I said, Woe is me! I am lost, for I am a man of unclean lips, and live among a people of unclean lips. Yet my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then one of the seraphs flew to me, holding a live coal that had been taken from the altar with a pair of tongs. The seraph touched my mouth with it and said, Now that this has touched your lips, your guilt has departed, and your sin is blotted out. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? And I said, Here am I, send me.
Well, Frank, it's a fabulous reading, this one, and this time we've gone for an Old Testament reading, but it can be a bit confusing, all the stuff about Isaiah, and this is a reading from Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah, but where are we coming from? We've got this fabulous vision, but who is this Isaiah chap that we're dealing with here?
Well, Isaiah the prophet, the book of the prophet is, we think, probably at least 2, if not 3 eras, covers whether they're individual people or schools, but this particular passage seems to have come from really when the temple in Jerusalem was at its height, and it's very much focused on the temple, the presence of God in the temple, and this is a vision of that. And I mean, here we are doing this interview in an office, but in this huge cathedral where we are, and it's not difficult really to get caught up in the image that is presented, or the metaphor that's presented.
And that just the hem of the robe of God fills the temple. We used to joke about it. I think they used to translate it as train filled the temple. And we used to think of railway stations and things. But in some way it's that sort of, it is a huge place, and it's a huge vision of God there, and angels, these seraphs sort of zipping around all over the place. And I think
part of that is to really, because of these things with the eyes and the wings, and it's all rather confusing, and the smoke. But what it's trying to say is, how do we talk about God, who is so much bigger than we are? And there are a few little clues here that we are talking about God, a God who is much bigger than we can grasp and understand. And one of them is that idea of the smoke. So wherever you read about smoke or cloud, normally on top of the mountain, but in this case in the temple, God's presence is there.
And it's interesting, it's not it's a sort of image thing, but so often still we hear in the media sort of this image of the old man sitting on a cloud, and we don't get that sort of personal image. It's more building up an impression of, I don't know, it's just amazing, isn't it? But it's quite a different picture, and then there's sort of stuff about fire, the coals and the live coals and the...
and that, of course, is to do with cleansing and purifying. That here Isaiah, caught up in this vision, sees God and then becomes aware of his unworthiness. I rather like what we have in our liturgy, where so often the praise and the confession go hand in hand. And in our Anglican tradition, we sometimes switch them around. So sometimes we start, let's praise God, and then, like Isaiah, fall to our knees because we're suddenly aware of our unworthiness. But other times we start with a confession, and then, having been cleansed, they touched our lips with the coal, as it were, we can then get up and praise God. And
we can stand. And I love the way it sort of moves on from there, and that the commission comes that now Isaiah is worthy to be sent out, and it's almost a sort of a naive, here am I, no idea what's coming, but still that God's willing to take us, human as we are, just as we
Indeed.
are, and to use us.
And of course, it's a favourite passage for ordinations and confirmations and any commissioning of any sort.
Yeah.
But we always stop at verse 8, and that's a big mistake.
Yeah. Actually, it's not that straightforward as the next bit, is it?
It's not that straightforward because the task that Isaiah is given is not a pleasant one, and he has to go and speak some really hard truths, which of course is what Isaiah, the first 39 chapters of Isaiah are about, to say to these people, you think you're okay because you've got the temple of the Lord.
Yeah, don't take it for granted.
But actually, be careful, be really careful.
But I bet, he needed that big vision, didn't he, to actually give him the courage. What's this stuff about us? Whom shall I send and who will go for us?
Yes.
It's tantalising, that, isn't it?
This reading, of course, is chosen for Trinity Sunday, and I guess this is, I presume the reading, the lectionary was there because of the us, that God is not just a single entity, if you like.
It's quite,
that famous incident with Abraham where God comes to visit, and remember there are three people.
Right, and it sort of alternates between three and one.
Yeah,
it's very, very intriguing. And that wonderful, holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts, and I know we'll be singing that hymn on Trinity Sunday.
Absolutely, a wonderful place to end.
It is indeed.
That our existence is actually about praising God and worshipping God.
God's holiness. Yep.